Ladies and gentlemen, it's part 2 of this here Impromptu Daily, where we're discussing that good old Terran vs. Zerg techniqueification from LastShadow. Some pretty cool comments that we got to extract from LastShadow's really slick opening. Unusual, very easy to do. Really clean and easy to do, because there's a long period where you're just building Marauders and building Hellions and not forgetting depots, and hooray! I wanted to note two brief things before we hop into the part where LastShadow is about to go seemingly take down Nest-T, and we have to make sure we don't make mistakes back home with our buildings. But I wanted to note that this weekend, pow, is the MSI Battlegrounds tournament. It's in Ventura, California. And there's one thing that I want to especially note. Register here at this msibattlegrounds.eventbrite.com. This is how you register for the tournament, and there's plenty of spots still open. I'm sure you could sign up at the door, but it starts at 10 a.m. and that is really close to my house. That is a close helicopter. Holy cow, I thought it was going to land on the roof. Did you hear that? The aircraft count is getting really high lately. It's odd. But yeah, I'm sure you could do the 10 a.m. signups at the door, but I'd hate for you to come out and then not play. So this is literally happening in 2 days. This is on Saturday. This is an amazing photograph of me looking a lot better than I actually do in real life. Look at that handsome, dashing man, and then look at the king of hair. I look like one of those old trolls that were really popular, you know, with like the pink hair and just like shot up. But yeah, there's a big old StarCraft 2 prize pool, and they have some pretty good players who have signed up. Where is it? Where's the sign up? God, there's so much stuff. Yeah, there's some good players. We got Oxlov there. Ooh, I'm excited to see Oxlov play. I didn't know he was there. Violet Select's going to be there. Select, the handsomest man in the world, which of course means I have to tell a story. I don't know if you know this, but Select always looks like an unreal sick badass until he laughs. And then he actually looks like Beaker if he were happy. So here's Select. Select always has this sort of like serial killer facial expression, this cold-hearted murder, this... You see him playing, he's like looking around, looking all intense and stuff, and then you say a joke, and he actually, his whole eyes light up, and he leans back and beams. So like you'll say like, you know, hey Select, why'd the chicken cross the road? To get to the other side. You know, something real funny and stuff, and he'll have his cold-hearted face, and he'll just... like his eyebrows like go halfway up his forehead. Just like, I literally, I never tire of just trying to make Select laugh, because you're all cool and like, he always like looks over at you. It's awesome. So that's one place that I'm going to be going, is the MSI Battlegrounds tournament. But one of the primary reasons that I've been so tired is I've been hard at work preparing for the Red Bull Battlegrounds in Austin. It's on Memorial Day weekend, so now that you're done with final exams, go carpool out. Obviously, get tickets, so just like with the last event, I don't want you to be turned away at the door because there's no seats. The seats are starting to sell really quickly. There's some group promo stuff, so if you want to look at this thread on Team Liquid Red Bull Battlegrounds, you'll of course find out that the Texas Esports Association is arriving. And I'll give you a hint about these two players. I'll give you a hint. One's a Terran, one's a Zerg. One's from Evil Geniuses, one's from It's Gosu. Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? I tease. Let's hop into this game. There we go. There we go. So, there's this moment where we are now doing our Marine Hellion push, where this is actually the moment that gives me the biggest trouble when I try to do a play like this. This gives me an incredible amount of difficulty, is this moment right here. This moment looks like the easy part, because, hell, it looks like we might just walk in and kill Nest-T right now. Pretend for a moment that Nest-T is two basing, that there's no expo here. Right now, our opponent could very, very easily be going Mutalisks. It's very important that these two structures are nearby each other, so that way we can perform a swap and begin making Marines 4 at a time right off the bat, and land this here and obviously begin making tanks. But if we overcommit, if we make too many Hellions and too many Marauders against a 2-basing player, our push can run out of steam, and then he has 10 Mutalisks, kills off our push even though we do critical damage, and then he comes to our base and kills us off. So I'm torn whether right now is when we want to do the swap against a 2-basing player and start making Marines, or whether now is the moment where we actually should drill the hardest. I'm increasingly starting to think that you should just drill. Just go Hellions, just go Marauders, and if you see Mutalisks, just go like turret, 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 turret. Just like turrets everywhere. Get an armory so when you do the swap you can build a Thor, and then just follow up push. But against a 3-basing player, I think it's universally correct to just keep drilling. I think it's universally correct against a 3-basing player. You're only going to be up against Lings, slow Banelings, and slow Roaches, maybe in a second you'll get them speed Roaches. But this is a really clean, easy way to just castrate the Zerg before he gets going. So these sorts of things happen. Obviously, you want them to happen as little as possible. Where you get surrounded, you know, stimming, spreading, all that good stuff is fine. But again, I think that the drill is fine. Getting medevacs and continuing to push with Marauder Hellion. Getting an upgrade. Because still in this position, you know that against a 2-basing player, you'd probably have to wrap up your attack because you'd be up against Mutalisks, you'd be up against Lings in larger quantities. But here, we're going to be up against just Ling Baneling. So, Marauder Hellion away. Is LastShadow actually considering making an expansion? It's pretty bold. That initial push wins a lot outright. This, I think, is another smart play to perform when you're up against 3-basing player. No reason not to do it. I mean, we have done some nice damage, killed off some workers. But, I'm getting increasingly to the point where I'm like, where's the swap? Wanna swap it up? So, the one thing that we are seeing LastShadow be a little bit hesitant on is still making a good chunk of Hellions. Some players before, like Six Jacks Major, or what team did he used to be on? Actually, let me open up the... Probably should have had this up a while back. What team is Major on? Like Six Jacks Major? I think he's on IM Major? I don't know. Plays under the name Anaprosser. He very often will just get the Blue Flame upgrade for the Hellions so that they can 2-shot the Lings, and then just keep going Marine Marauder, Medevac, Hellion. Really aggressive playstyle. Really hard to control, but Major has really good micro, so that's easy peasy. But around 12:30, no matter what, I think you should start going into Marine production. Pretty much no matter what. All the pushing at the 10-minute, I'm kind of, oh, I don't know what happened here, but that just sucks. Oh, I do not know what happened. Okay, there we go. But, yeah, I don't think that LastShadow can really do any sort of aggressive pushing anymore. That pushing was to force my opponent to make something that was just not in the droning vein. 64-66. We ended up with a nice drone lead. This will also force your opponent to steer clear from a couple of compositions that can mess with this early command center. I like players who like to go for this Roachling, Baneling, layer tech, big shove. It's super rough to do it against this composition. But hooray, LastShadow has finally done the swap. He's now starting to go tank. And that is the one difficult juncture in this build, is that we have 3 tech labs due to our triple Marauder production. So being able to get a lot of reactor barracks up is going to be of incredible essence. This is something that I think is easy not to do, but is like the linchpin of this entire build order moment. Leaving all these forces here, because if he tries to be too aggressive too early with Mutalisks, we actually don't have anything. You heard me talk at the 9-minute mark about my big fear of us with this force, and that fear just, I cannot emphasize enough how often it comes true, where the Mutals just roll in and we just get boned. So having this leading army be able to make some sort of lightning push with a scan if we're in a rough spot, ultra important. Since I've been playing Protoss today, I'm immediately having fantasies of being able to do the Marine call down like you do in single player. Oh my god. I would love to be able to just do the Marine call down. Warp Marines from single player. This is not that many Mutalisks. Do you see the issue that this Hellion Marauder play will almost always have? This is almost always how things end up going. And it's super difficult. So I'm quite torn. None of these units are going anywhere. They really can't. Some of this sort of dropping action in the main. In terms of drop theory, if I drop in, or if I see his Mutalisks are going to be in a very specific location for a while, like hell, if his Mutalisks are even here, I know that if I drop here with a medevac, the only thing that he can defend it with is Lings. Means that his front is a lot wider open. So this is how you do lightning pushes as Terran. Oh, Muta's here. Drop at the far opposite corner, and then these units in the middle have the opportunity to push to here. Will be quite tough, but 'tis true that they can end up shoving their way to there. But when we leave him in the middle of the map and the Mutals find it, looks like I actually think LastShadow is kind of having the tragic collapse moment where Nestea just gets so much stuff. Holy god, Nestea is good. Holy crap, that is just so much stuff. No way. I'm actually just going to be genuinely surprised if LastShadow can do this. There's not that many Mutalisks on the field compared to where Zerg could be at this stage because he was battered down a lot early on, but that might actually just be a good game. Unbelievable by Nestea. And also, super... I always love players who are like, hey, here's my replay pack. And they have a lot of replays of themselves losing in there. I know people who do that who are like, hey, here's a replay pack of me. I only win. I don't only win, but I'm not going to tell you about that. Let's actually come back, because this is great. This is a really, really great example of a solid timing push that has a difficult juncture in it. There's a lot of yucky timing pushes that if you hold it off, you are in absolutely fine shape. So you heard me say, I think it's absolutely correct to do this, to continue to drill. I think it's absolutely going to end up being fine most of the time. But when could we have transitioned earlier? This moment right here, all the stuff that's going on back home, I think is very clearly the key potential misstep moment. I mean, obviously we're in a good position. We're ahead in the worker count. This upgrade, I do think is a little bit behind. And when did the Mutalisks come in? Per usual, anytime I see a loss, I want to come to the one moment where things just totally collapsed, which I guess is going to be at this 15-minute mark. Let's actually pop back to here. And how many units did we have? We had 13 Marines. We had control over the center of the map. We had a lot of our Marines here. You know, what I would probably say is that starting at 1330 or so, if we are taking this third base, we'll probably have to pull everything back but a Hellion. And we only want to actually begin to move out again once we have 2-1 upgrades. Just go bomber style and go defensive, because this shouldn't kill us off this badly. And if we leave all our Marines home, hell, if we even build a lot of turrets at home, these Marines in the middle still aren't accomplishing that, that stuff. We aren't accomplishing that much with these Marines. So, yeah, that's if I were in LastShadow's shoes, that's the first adjustment I would make, is to do everything identically. Start Marine production at 1230, just like I was thinking, or just as we did in this game. And then try to defend, or play a little bit more defensively at this point in time. We've pretty much shut down his opportunity to get a 4th base. We have established our 3rd base, but, you know, turret, turret, bomber style, turret, 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 turret. Get 2-1, and then push out again. I think we could end up in a nice position. Because Nesty can only end up with a swollen mid-game. Nesty can't really bounce back and get the Infestor Hive up really quickly like that. That just ends up being too difficult. Right on. And if that didn't end up working, if I played a few more games and still lost in that fashion, I would probably then want to follow it up with... I'd probably follow it up by saying, well, gosh, maybe I'm going Marauder Hellion too long. Maybe I just don't have enough Marines. And then I would say, I guess I'm going to start Marine production at 10 minutes. And just sort of do it from there. So let's go ahead and do another Terran vs. Zerg replay. It looks like, I think Coco was the most voted other game, where the Terran vs. Zerg, sort by TVZ, Slayers, Coca. Great! Another game on the same map. Antigua Shipyard. We got a barcode. I don't know if this is Slayer's Coca because LastShadow did publicly state that there are a couple of accounts that are shared by a lot of pros that he didn't realize. So some of them are mislabeled. So all I'll really confirm is that this is LastShadow playing against a really good Zerg. The replay is labeled as Slayer's Coca in case you want to go look it up in the replay pack set, but might not be the replay pack set of our dreams. It looks like LastShadow is going to be doing something a little different. At this point, I'm already saying, oh, wow, could very well be a Reaper opening. I know LastShadow likes doing Reaper openings, but no, it looks like he's going to go for standard Hellion play. Hellion play. Okay, so, 2 Marines pop out. First 2 Marines should always do something. Always. Even just doing this. And then when this thing finishes up, just turn around and go home. I'm still not a fan of sacrificing units like this, but... Oh my god, no way! No way! Is he really doing that much damage? Holy cow! There's not even an SCV there. What the hell? How did this happen? Let me just note... Oh my god. Oh my god. Let me just... Oh my god, that shouldn't have happened that way. Okay, so, dear Zergs, where do we place our second Overlord? One of the biggest, most important questions of all time. The most defensive thing that you can possibly do is just plant your Overlord right here. It'll take a few shots, and then you can move the Overlord to here with no problem whatsoever. But if there's just 2 Marines and no SCVs, just don't bring drones down. Just let the hatch take damage, because we've already lost 3 workers, maybe 4. just let the hatch take some damage. You know, the only real concern is if he builds a bunker. That is the only real concern. And it looks like LastShadow is following up with one of the most fun, aggressive ways to play, the Hellion Banshee. Unless, of course, he's going to be going for the Hellion Medevac drop, which would surprise me considering he's getting that tech lab. But this, I'm glad we're getting the chance to see this kind of gameplay. It's a little bit older school. It's difficult to pull off because none of what we're building, the Hellions, the Banshee, the Cloak, none of them are Marines and Marauders and Medevacs and tanks. So we are essentially steering very far away from a core army mix. The farther we steer from a core army mix, the more difficult it is for us to have a solid mid-game. The most standard, I mean, I'll even say that, the most standard barracks mixture in the early to mid-game for a Terran against a Zerg is 3 barracks, 2 with reactors, 1 with tech lab. So that way we can get the upgrades. So that means 5 Marines being built at a time. It's about 10 Marines a minute. So if, let's say we're going for some sort of bomber-style play, and we're having all those 3 barracks up by, I don't know the exact timing. I want to say like 7.5 minutes. That should be right. We build... I'm going to calculate for a moment. We build the 2 Hellions, or 2 sets of Hellions. They should be done. We pull back. We add on the 2 barracks. 7:30 or 8, I guess I would say. So all of a sudden, if we're building 10 Marines a minute, let's just say 8 minutes, 10 Marines a minute, then by 10 minutes, we already have a total of 20 Marines, in 11 minutes, 30, and 40. But if this gets delayed a lot by this style, and we start doing that at 10 minutes, then suddenly we have 20 less Marines. I'm starting to use more numbers. I like speaking a little bit more in abstraction, saying something like, we'll have less Marines if we go Banshee Hellion. But I want to say something like, with the actual number 20, we will probably have 20 less Marines and be delayed by a full 2 to 3 minutes with our push if we open this way. So we have to do a lot of damage. We have to go ape shit with the damage. Ape shit with the damage. So this is the moment where a lot of people will stop making the Hellions, build the command center, and essentially tweak out and say, oh my goodness, can't possibly risk not expanding, not having my expo up in time. So right now we are seeing Slayer's Coco be amazing. That was amazing. Right now, LastShadow hasn't really lost that much. He's done some slight cancels, but I'm really torn on what the correct thing to do is. So it looks like what LastShadow's doing is just drilling it. For any of you who have not heard my term drill, drill is the phrase I use for when we have, I guess I'd call it a trick or a play that we want to pull off, but it didn't quite work, so we're just going to make it work. We drill it, right? Well, at 3 Marauders, 4 Hellions didn't seem to cut it, so I'm going to go 10 Marauders, 30 Hellions. I'm going to drill them with it. 1 Nidus network isn't cutting it, so I'm going to build 3 Nidus networks and just drill into the back of his base. So right here, we're just drilling hard with this Banshee Hellion composition, and I think you're forced to. If you are going Banshee Hellion, you are forced to just drill really hard if you have not done damage. Because if you've done no damage and now you try to transition, essentially the Zerg player has been totally unperturbed, and you're going to have 20 less Marines. 20. Freaking 20. So it looks like the play that we are seeing LastShadow do, and I actually think that this will never work ever again now that Queens have range 5. It's a little bit older of a game. But Banshee's at the back to try to force some more Queens to pull back, and then just shove them at the front. And now that the Hellions, or now that the Roaches are there, I actually genuinely have no idea what we're supposed to do in LastShadow's shoes. I would type GG and leave. There's like nothing here, man. Ooh, 3 Banshees queued. Yuck, that's really uncharacteristic of LastShadow. Dude, I would just get out of the game, man. I'm going to go to a break and just calm down. I'm just going to take a break. We're going to go on to part number 3 and see if LastShadow can pull this off. This game is not even halfway done. What? Unusual play ends up in unusual circumstances. Can he pull it off? I don't know, but we'll come back. Do-do-do-do.